melt when I'm ocean waves.
Today on Nova Legends podcast, I have Chris Carrico, Coach Chris Carrico of Meridian Girls, whose team is back in the state final this weekend, a place they're quite familiar with. Coach, great to meet you. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, thank you, Julian. It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
Of course. Well, I have to apologize to you. I did the same thing with your soccer team last year. Meridian, as always, I'm a native of Fairfax, went to Robinson. You guys, it was George Mason, of course, when I was in school. You always are kind of below the radar because you're different than the rest of us. You guys play different teams, and oftentimes we don't hear much about you. The next thing we know, you guys win a state championship. How have you enjoyed that role, kind of working at a smaller school in the middle of a huge county?
Yeah, I've worked at George Mason / Meridian for 17 years now, so I'm kind of used to that whole small school kind of feel in a big community environment. And I think that the kids, they relish it. It's a challenge. We'd like to challenge ourselves with our non-district schedule, with all of the off-season stuff that we do. We like to challenge ourselves playing all the higher level schools, and it's great for us. It's great competition, and I feel like it prepares our kids for games like this that we're going to play on Friday, to just kind of play and be prepared the best way that we can. Like I said, I've been working and coaching at Meridian and George Mason for 17 years, and it's just something that we've always done. We've always played as many local games as possible to kind of get the best competition.
Yeah. Is there a big gap in development between folks at smaller schools away from suburban areas, like outside of Winchester, Shenandoah, and your girls have, opportunities to train with, in great programs as youth? Are the other areas of the state catching up with the suburban areas in terms of opportunities, you think?
I think there's great basketball throughout the whole state of Virginia. I really do. To be honest with you, some of the best games that we've played in throughout the years, and even this year, are against a smaller, attendance, or like the smaller schools. Exactly. Smaller schools. Exactly. You're exactly right. So, I think there's good basketball throughout Virginia, and I've always seen that as well too. And you've seen it this year as well too. I don't include myself, like I don't participate in AAU. I don't participate in I don't coach AAU or anything like that. So I get the girls here at my school, and then I just hear talking with coaches and everything. And those girls play against each other in AAU. They're at the same tournaments. They're at the same training facilities and stuff like that. Even the local kids, as well as the kids when we travel to schools and play against them as well too. So they know each other through those AAU circuits, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Well, let me talk a little bit about your record. You got your 100th win already. When you say you're in your 17th year, you look really young. So you must have started coaching when you must have started teaching when you're like 15. I know you're a special education teacher at Meridian. You won a state championship at Meridian in 2021. I believe you were a state finalist in 2020. Is that right, Coach?
We won the state final in 2021, and then we lost to Carroll County the very next year. And then last year we lost in the semifinal to Brentsville.
That's right. But in 2020, you didn't get to the finals as well. You didn't get to the finals? That was the COVID year.
So the year before we won, we lost to Booker T. Washington in the quarterfinal. We had actually kind of come off the radar there. I think we kind of surprised people that year. I had a young group and we surprised people. We did well. We ended up winning the region. It was the first year that we became a 3A school. But then we lost to Booker T, who was a really good team. That was right before the COVID shutdown.
Okay. So where did you become interested in basketball? Where'd you play and where'd you begin coaching?
Yeah, well, I've loved basketball my whole life. I've been a gym rat my whole entire life. I actually grew up in Centerville, but my family moved to the Prince William County area and actually went to Brentsville High School. So It's kind of been full circle. I went there in the early 2000s. I graduated from Brentsville in 2003, and I played 4 years of basketball there. I played 3 years of varsity basketball. But like I said, I love the game. And you become a coach when you can't play it as well as other people.
Yeah.
So, that's really what happened, and I went to Christopher Newport University. I didn't play college ball or anything like that, but I always just knew that I liked to be around the game, and I like being around kids as well too, just kind of coaching and being around kids. I always coached at the, in high school, I always coached at the rec league level for my younger brother and everything, and just kind of just being around the game as much as possible. So the teaching opportunity happened for me at George Mason when I graduated from Christopher Newport in 2007. And I just coached ever since then, whether it be basketball, baseball, golf, and I loved it all. Boys, girls, everything.
Well, as you were saying, I'll finish that for you. If you can't play, you coach. If you can't coach, you referee.
Okay.
If you can't referee, you do podcasts.
Yeah. All right. That sounds good.
Yeah, that's progression. So you mentioned Brentsville High School. Who'd you play for there, and what'd you learn from him?
My coach at Brentsville was a guy by the name of Doug Poppy. And so, like I said, he came in my freshman year, and from 1999 to 2003. And we were actually a good team. We won. If you go to Brentsville, the last boys district titles and everything are out there from 2000, like when I graduated. So I was lucky enough to play on a very good team out there. From Coach Poppy, I just kind of I learned about being disciplined. We were a very disciplined team, and that even kind of comes over for my teams now. I try to teach discipline first. We try to be a defensive team first. That's my goal year in and year out, is to make sure that I'm a defensive team, that we focus on playing defense, and good defense is a way that I think we feel like you can win games. I would like to mention Coach Chris Carrico and Coach Mike Gilroy. Those have been two guys that have been great mentors for me here at George Mason / Meridian. And even today, Coach Cap doesn't coach anymore. And Coach Gilroy used to coach the girls program, and even kind of still helps me out on the side even now. But those two guys have been instrumental in kind of my development and my success as a coach.
Yeah. How about on a broader level, in terms of thought leaders in the game? Who are the people that affect you most in terms of how you play and the way you handle and your tenets of leadership? Anyone else other than folks that you're locally connected to?
Well, I love the University of Virginia. I've always loved Tony Bennett, and I mean, I guess I can't model everything that he does. We don't have the athletes. We don't have but that's where I come that defensive first principles. I just love the way that the University of Virginia plays the game. And I just kind of lean on those principles the same way for my girls, and just the philosophies, and kind of being like a team first kind of kid, and making sure that we have good kids primarily first and foremost, even way before we even talk about basketball. It's just kind of coaching good human beings.
Yeah. You don't curse a lot like Coach Bennett, do you, Coach?
Oh no, I try to tone it in.
No, I'm just kidding. He doesn't curse at all. I think he got his first technical foul this year for the first time in, I think, 5 or 10 years or something crazy. I'm a UVA guy as well, so I appreciate you saying that. Before we get to this year's team, I did want to talk about last year. Now, last year was probably, you won the state championship in 2021. But 2023 was an interesting year, because you and Brentsville had an incredible rivalry, and you end up beating them 3 times. And then you lost to them in the semis, which is really strange that they make you play the same team so many times, the way our sports are organized. Talk a little bit about that. That must have been a really strange time for you, since actually you went to Brentsville.
I did. I mean, and actually the coach, when I first started coaching against Brentsville, was Eugene Baltimore, and Coach Baltimore was my PE teacher. We used to play one-on-one and everything. I have a great relationship with Coach Baltimore, and obviously his daughter Kayla is the coach now. So yes, it is always just kind of it's just an odd feeling to be being a part of that community, and now kind of playing against them. But yeah, so the game last year, it's hard to beat somebody multiple times in a year. But actually during the quarterfinal game, when we were playing Lafayette, the kid on our team that was the best kid on our team, Elizabeth Creed, broke her wrist in that game. So we weren't. That's not an excuse, but it's reality. We weren't at full strength in the game against Brentsville in the semifinal. But the kids still, it was a great environment over at McLean High School. The gym was packed and everything. The environment was great, and they just made plays down the stretch. And in the past, we had made those plays, but they were able to, overcome, the hurdle, I guess, to say the least, of beating us in the game last year.
So she's playing at Christopher Newport. How is she doing? Is she fully healed? Doing okay?
She is. Yeah. Elizabeth had a great year. They unfortunately just lost to Johns Hopkins on Saturday, so their season ended. And actually the coach at Christopher Newport, Bill Broderick, used to coach at George Mason as well too. He was a girls coach here. And we've had kids previously that went to George Mason Nicole Mitchell, Chantal Thomas that played for Coach Broderick down at Newport News as well too. So there's kind of like that school connection. But Elizabeth had a great year. She fully healed. She got a lot of minutes. They play a fast pace down at CNU, so she was definitely part of that fast pace.
Yeah, also plays a local player that I like a lot, Caitlin Crump. I think she's a really nice player too. So
Yeah.
let's talk a little bit about your players this year. So what jumps out at you right away is Maureen Trimble. She averages a double-double. She averages almost 12 points a game and 10 rebounds and also 5 assists. And Elaine Friesen is gets 15 points a game. So talk about those two and also your other key players.
Yeah, so Mo, I call her Mo Tremblay. Mo has played in now, this will be her 3rd state final. So she has a lot of experience. And Mo is that kind of kid that, and I think she would be the first one to tell you, Mo might not be the most skilled player that's on the floor, but I would have 5 Mo's on my team because she's willing to do everything for you. And she's a leader both on and off the floor. You know, she's not worried about her stats at all. I know that's very cliche for a coach to say, but she definitely does not. Now the stats come, we lean on her a lot, obviously. You know, she rebounds, she plays defense, she scores, she makes layups. She's improved immensely with her shooting percentage, especially from the free throw line. She gets fouled a lot and she spends a lot of time at the free throw line. So she gets a lot of points that way, but it's really just kind of her leadership that Mo provides for us both on and off the floor as a senior leader, and not only as a senior leader, but also as like a good person. Like I said, it just kind of, she embodies everything that I have tried to build here in that this is my 6th year as the varsity head coach, but she kind of has gone through since 8th grade and just been a part of this program. And it's just the essential key point for our program as well too. So our success kind of goes ebbs and flows with how Maureen is playing and how engaged she is and everything.
And then you got Ellen Friesen. She's your leading scorer.
Yeah, Ellie Friesen. Ellie actually transferred. She spent her freshman year at O'Connell, and she transferred last year. And Ellie came in, and Ellie Ellie loves to shoot the ball. And when Ellie came in, I felt like that might have been the only thing that she, was able to do confidently. And she has worked over the past 2 seasons during the season and during the off season to become a more full around player. Ellie's able to handle the ball a lot better now because teams know that Ellie is a shooter, that she likes to shoot the ball. So they overplay her, so you have to find different ways to create shots for her. And she's a lot more inept at creating her own shot now as well, too. But when Ellie gets cooking, it's fun to watch, and it helps us out a lot offensively. If we ever get in a little lull offensively, if she's able to make big shots for us, that's definitely key.
Yeah. Well, how about some of your other players that might not be as highly regarded on the outside, but are key players for your team?
Yeah. So, I mean, throughout the whole year, we've played several kids, and a lot of kids have had to step up this year and fill in roles because we've had kind of bouts with even COVID. We've had bouts with like sprained ankles and things like that. But Nora Stuffed is a kid that's an energy level kid. She wears number 23. Nora was actually out for the first quarter of our season with a knee injury, but she fills in just as that hustle kid. No play is every team has a player that no plays are ran for her or for them, but they're able to make an impact on the game. And Nora is definitely that kid. She's got a motor. I tell her, I want you to go get every offensive rebound, go and get it, and Nora does that for us. Another kid that's filled in roles for us. We've always had senior led teams by point guards. I've been blessed to be able to coach Zoraida Iqbal was probably like the best point guard that ever came out of Meridian High School. And then last year, Peyton Jones. But this year, a girl by the name of Charlotte Liu has stepped into a role as our starting point guard as a freshman. Before Charlotte said she never played point guard before in her life. So it's kind of like a point guard role by committee, but she's filled in that role for us very well too. She's had growing pains throughout the year, but she's playing well now and she's making big shots. She's made big shots in both of our state games that were huge, and she makes free throws, which is great to have somebody with the ball in their hands that makes free throws. But there's the one kid I like to throw a shout out with, just because the way that she's played in the state tournament, her performances kind of came out of nowhere. It was a girl, Ava Smith. Ava Smith is a senior, and her defensive intensity and her defensive paralysis, just guarding. We had a tough time against one kid against Lafayette and one kid against Lake Terror, getting stops against them. And Ava just kind of filled that void, especially in the second half, and made big stops defensively, big plays defensively, but also came through on the offensive end for us as well too.
Yeah, well, that's great, coach. Sounds like you got a great team there. Well, let's talk a little bit about the season. Now, the thing that jumps out at a 22-5 record, some quality losses. Langley, who was one of the in the Washington Post much of the year, McLean, who won the Liberty District, Madison, only a 4-time state champion. And then you lost to Hanley, and they're the Class 4 region champ. They were a Class 4 regional champ in the Blues, and recently, I think maybe they lost in region, but anyway, one thing that jumps out at me is you had 2 huge wins over Fauquier, destroyed them, but yet Fauquier beat Brentsville. But you were beat them by 30, 40 points. I didn't, when I went through your results, those games didn't make any sense to me.
I think that's more of a matchup. I think that is a kind of a matchup. Who do you match up well against, and who could you struggle? Whose type of game could you struggle against? I'll just leave it at that. I think that's where those scores might have stemmed from a little bit.
Yeah.
But we definitely, yes, we played in a lot of close games this year, which was great for our kids, which is great, especially when you get towards this end of the year, right? And we didn't always end up on the right end of those close games, especially those games that you talked about, right? We had opportunities in all those games, except for probably the McLean game to win the game. Now we didn't, the score might not have been indicative of that, but we had opportunities to win. And we just weren't able to get over that hump until later on in the season, when we were able to start pulling off close victories against Brentsville in overtime. We went out there. It's always hard to play on the road, right? And then we played against Heritage and won by 2 points. So it's just kind of like being in those close games and playing against good competition definitely helped us out a lot. And that was just kind of the message throughout. You never want to lose. None of us ever like to lose, but there are learning experiences through close losses, so that's definitely what was helpful for us as our maturation as a team, as we grew throughout the year.
Yeah. Well, you ended up losing to Brentsville in the regional final, which I think made things a little bit more complicated for you in the postseason, because I think it made you had to travel down to Lafayette. Which could have been a good experience for the kids. Tell us about the Brentsville regional loss.
Yeah, so we had a hard time scoring the ball, and we only scored 34 points in the regional final. They did a great job. Like when 2 teams know each other so well, right? You take away what the other team likes to do, right? So they know all of our kids, we know their kids, and they made more plays that night. They were the better team that night. But our kids, after we lost to Brentsville, the message that I sent to the kids is look, our season is in the exact same spot that it would have been if we would have won, right? Our season continues. Let's go on the road here, maybe take a little bit of pressure off of ourselves, take a little bit of pressure off, we had won 4 previous regional finals. And so it's just kind of take the pressure off and go down to Lafayette. At the time we knew it was going to be Lafayette, and let's see how we do on the road. You kind of be able to focus a little bit better. You don't have to worry about all the distractions. You're only worried about what's going on the floor and each other when you get to travel, so, and the kids embrace that trip and embrace that roll down to Lafayette. But yeah, I mean, it was full respect to Brentsville, and they did a great job in that regional final. We don't lose too many home games. We don't lose too many home games, so they did a great job that night.
Yeah. How much fun was the bus ride back from Lafayette?
Yeah, it was great. It made that trip down to Williamsburg a little bit better. You know what I mean? It makes it a lot better, those long road trips, when you're able to pull those types of games off.
Yeah. So tell us about the Lake Taylor game. That was the state semi, and interesting because I believe your boys played Lake Taylor there, so you guys crossed. So yeah, tell us about the Lake Taylor win. That must have been a huge win for you.
Yeah, so both of our state games, both state games, the one against Lafayette and the one against Lake Taylor, kind of played out the same way. We jumped out at the beginning, but then fell behind. So we were losing in both games, especially in the Lake Taylor game at the end of the first quarter, at halftime, down by 5 in both games, and then at the end of the third quarter as well in Lake Taylor, we were down by 5 points. Lake Taylor. And I'm sorry, I don't remember the girls' names. They had 2 really, really, really good players. Number 1 on their team, she scored 30 points against us. We had a hard time keeping her out of the paint. And then number 23 as well, too, her athleticism. She was just able to finish up over top of us. But those 2 girls, we had a hard time with them. And kind of the turning point in the game was number 23. She fouled out about halfway through the fourth quarter. And that kind of opened things up a little bit for us offensively. I know she was a force defensively, but it kind of made it scoring a little bit easier. And it took one one focal point for them offensively off the floor, which helped out a lot. And our kids just made big shots. We made big shots, and we kind of got it spaced out there. We went up by 10 in the fourth quarter, and they even kind of, we struggled a little bit at the end, kind of putting the game away, but made free throws, which was key to kind of ending their threat. But yeah, the girls, like, we stayed engaged and involved, and just kind of kept, every time we tried to make a push at the beginning of the game, they responded. And I kept being like, man, are we going to be able to get over that hump? And every time I felt like maybe we weren't going to be able to get there, the kids responded, whether it be Maureen, whether it be Ellie making big shots, whether it be, like I said, Ava making big shots, or Charlotte. Charlotte made 2 threes in the second half that were very critical for our success.
Yeah. Well, Coach, when you look at the season, you lose Elizabeth Creed, you lose Peyton Jones, you don't really have a point guard coming in. At the beginning of the year, did you think you'd be in the state final right now? Could you imagine you'd be in the state final?
I would like to tell you yes. I would like to tell you. I mean, I don't want to sell this group short. That's the biggest thing as a coach, right? The kids work their tails off, and I have high expectations, not only for myself, but for them as well too. So those kids fill in, but you just named 2 really good college basketball players. And the year before that, we had lost, like I said, probably the kid that I think was probably the best girls basketball player, and if not the best basketball player to ever put on a Meridian/George Mason jersey, and Zarate Cabalceta. So yes, like, if I were to say to you, I fully expected this team to get back here, I would be kind of like telling you a little fib, but I'm not surprised, right? Like, these kids work their tails off. We have a very good, strong core group, and they've made plays, and we've grown throughout the year together. But that was a lot to lose, and those kids were a lot to lose and to fill their voids. But we've done a great job doing it, though.
Yeah, excellent job, Coach. So last couple of years, Carroll County's been such an amazing team. Everyone talks about them. But this year they're not around. I don't know what happened to them. But the goal is to beat Liberty Christian. And this is a school that's dominant in lots of boys sports. What do you know about Liberty Christian?
Well, I can tell you what happened to Carroll County. They lost 78-50 to Liberty Christian. So Liberty Christian is in Lynchburg, obviously. And they're in Region C. They are undefeated. They're 26-0 on the year. They've beaten Spotswood, who was also a perennial, very good team. They've beaten Turner Ashby twice as well too. So Liberty Christian is a well-coached. They play very well. They have 2 kids that we are focusing in on. Number 3, her name, first girl is their point guard. Her name is Avery Mills. Avery Mills. I apologize. Her number is number 3. So she's a senior there. And then also, I hope I'm pronouncing their names right, Emmy Stout. She's number 30. She's their post. Both of those kids are going to Liberty University next year. Cool. So they are both there. So they might be the 2 best. No disrespect to anybody else that we played this year. But from what I've seen on film, they might be the 2 best kids that will play this year. So we are definitely going to focus this week on trying to stop them and trying to make them as uncomfortable as possible and trying to get them out of their comfort zone. We are who we are. I fully believe this as a coach. We are who we are, and we're going to focus a little bit on us, but we're going to focus a lot this week on preparing to make them, those 2 in particular, uncomfortable and making it as difficult as we can.
Yeah, that's great, Coach. Well, Coach, you won a state championship before. You know what that's like. I think one of your players was on that team, right? I think Mo was. Mo's on that team.
Yeah.
What does winning a state championship mean to you, and what do you think it would mean to the girls, especially those other than Mo that haven't won one before?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I know how to win. We've experienced winning one, and I've also experienced losing one. So I do know that it's a state championship and playing in it is a culmination of all the hard work and everything that you put in since our off-season stuff started in August. And that's when we started our push for this year. But just for this program, the Meridian girls basketball program, we have a history that we want to live up to. And when I started as a young 6 years ago, that's what I was trying to make sure that I lived up to. I was making sure that I lived up to that, to the Meridian High School, kind of like the history that we have. Now that pressure, I don't feel that pressure anymore. I try to enjoy this as much as possible and make this as much about the kids as possible and as little about me as possible, and make sure that I prepare them as well as I can and make it about them. Because it truly should be about them. And that's why I think that Maureen and Mo wants that for her teammates, because she has experienced it and she's been communicating that all year to them and showing them and leading them through that leadership. So I think that would mean something for her, because as a freshman, when we won, right, you have a different role. Now this is Mo's team. So I think like it would even mean even more for her. And those other kids kind of feed off of that. And it's a great experience. Even just getting down there, it's awesome. You know what I mean? You get to play one game a year on a college court, and it's a great experience for any kid to be able to do that.
You know, what's interesting about Meridian is, unlike other schools, like say your kids go to McLean, you know, the longest bus ride they probably have is 20 minutes all year for all their games. Meridian, you guys actually used to traveling. So going for a 2-hour ride to a game is kind of like what you guys do. And you had the experience of going to Lafayette. That's a lifetime experience already that they have. It would just be so great for the girls in your team to do it. Well, Coach, look, I'm just so glad I got a chance to meet you. You seem like a great guy. It's obviously you're a great coach. Really, I think I'll be able to make it down there, so I'll be able to hopefully meet you in person, but definitely see the game. But anyway, I just wish you the best luck. I really appreciate you taking time to talk to me today.
All right, great. Thank you, Julian. I appreciate you talking to me as well, too.
Yeah, good luck, Coach, and hopefully I'll see you soon.